Hey everybody, I'm back with another update of what's happening here in Southern Utah, and today I'm back here at the Water District where we get to interview Zach Renstrom for our annual water update. One of the biggest questions I get is where is all the water coming from that will sustain the growth that we are seeing here in St. George? So each year I like to do an interview with someone at the Water District that knows what's going on and knows what they're doing to ensure that we continue having water here. Really looking forward to showing you, so let's get started. Okay, so I'm here with Zach Renstrom, who is the general manager of the Washington County Water Conservancy District. Basically the guy that's in charge of everything water related here, right?
Yes.
We appreciate all you do. I know it's not easy living in a desert and having one main water source and trying to figure out how to continue maximizing and creating more water. And so we're just going to talk about a few things that are a few projects in the works that are helping maximize that water storage and reuse, conservation. And so to start, let's start with the water storage. So I know you said there's 5 reservoirs in the works. Let's start with the one out in Toquerville. It's called Chief Toquer Reservoir. Give us an update on where that one is at, what we can expect from that.
Yeah, so we just completed the foundation of the dam. If you drive up there, you'll be able to see a lot of work that has occurred up there. So now we're just moving to the next phase where we actually will start constructing the dam. And so we're in the process right now of selecting a contractor that would come in and actually build that portion of the project.
Okay.
And we're also finishing up some pipe work above the dam, and that's how we bring water in there. And so we're really hoping that in the next couple of years, we'll start putting water in that reservoir moving forward.
Gotcha. Very cool. And that's a pretty decent sized one, right?
Yeah, it'll be a nice sized lake. They'll have really good recreation on it. It will be limited to non-motorized activities. But for like paddle boards or a kayak, it'll be just a great facility and it'll be fun up there.
That's awesome. It's a beautiful area too. So I mean, it's going to be awesome. Very cool. And then now we'll switch over to the west side of the county. We've got in Santa Clara and Ivins, we've got 2 other reservoirs. Tell us about those.
Yeah, so we have 2 reservoirs. We have one is called Graveyard Wash, and that's in the Santa Clara area, basically right there. So that went through the full environmental process. When we went back out there to actually construct it, there was a few other small environmental things they wanted to address, specifically the tortoises.
Okay.
And so we're just finishing up those permits, and so hopefully that'll start construction here very shortly. The other one is Dry Wash, that's located in Ivins. Same thing, it's gone through the full environmental analysis. We have approval to construct that. We actually own 90% of the land. And so we're just in the final phases of seeing how to tweak the last bit of the design to make it so we can kind of work with the neighbors a little bit better out there.
Gotcha. Very cool. And then the other 2 are a little bit further down the road, but being worked on. The first one is Cove Reservoir, which I'm just now learning about. Tell us about where that one's at.
So Cove Reservoir is actually located above Zions National Park in Kane County. And so we're working with the Kane County Water Conservancy District to do a joint project up there. And so that project's in the middle of all the environmental analysis that needs to go on with that reservoir. So we're just kind of in the process. The environmental documents will come out for public review here hopefully soon. And yeah, that'll be a really good one to store that water at a really high elevation.
Awesome. And then the one that I get asked about a lot is Warner Valley.
Yeah.
Give us an update where Warner Valley is at.
Yeah, this community has been working on Warner Valley for almost 100 years.
Long time.
A long time. And so it's
crazy to hear 100 years. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's fascinating to go back and read these old historical documents them talking about it. Because anyways, we're in the process right now. We're doing a land exchange with the BLM.
Okay.
So there is some critical habitat for tortoises that the BLM has been mandated by Congress to go and acquire. So we're going to do a big land exchange, and then we're in the middle of that process right now. So hopefully the district will acquire the title or the land ownership out there here shortly within about a year.
Okay.
And then with Warner Valley, at that point, we'll just build it when it's needed. And so we've done, we know it's a good site for it, but we would have to really dive into it and do a lot. But that'll be just a great project to have sitting there. And then as growth demands, we will build it.
Awesome. Very cool. And so, and as far as reservoirs go, water storage, just tell us what that impact means, because I think a lot of people don't understand the impact of what these water storage reservoirs will do for us.
Yeah, so I mean, in this county, we ran out of water a long time ago. Even if you go back to like the early 1900s, they were out of water. The only reason why we're able to sustain what we have going on here today is because of reservoirs. And so most of our runoff comes off in about a 3-month period. And so we've got to capture as much water as we can in a small, very small window, and then store it almost for the rest of the year. And so we're just kind of continuing that legacy of water development and storage. And so we can capture more of that water during those runoffs or those monsoonal rains, and then use it when we need it, like right now when it's so hot.
Yeah, when it's 115 out.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Very cool. So now switching gears to the reuse. I know you've had to expand the reuse system, reuse facility. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we've been doing reuse in this county for a long time, over 20 years. Reuse has been used in the United States extensively for years and years and years. And so it's nothing new. We're just simply expanding that. Part of the key thing to expanding the reuse is having the facilities to kind of store that reuse water. And we do need to upgrade our treatment systems to make sure it. And so the water that comes out, it has to go through a very sophisticated system to purify the water. There's very, very stringent requirements or regulations on that water. And so we have to now construct those facilities to accommodate all that. And so the goal is to really capture a resource that we haven't traditionally been using too much.
And then what do we use that reuse water for?
So right now, we could actually take it to drinking water.
Okay.
We can take it to put it on, outside use or ag exchange. And so that's kind of what we're doing right now, is we're kind of going through that process of determining which one is the most economic sense. And working with farmers too to look at, is there a possibility to do ag exchange? The farmers are actually very excited about it because in a lot of ways it's a higher quality of water than they traditionally have gotten, because it's crystal clear, so they're not getting the silts and the sand and the debris that they get a lot of times of the year. So we're just in that process right now of developing those plans and working with our cities and farmers.
Awesome. Very cool. And lastly, the conservation measures that are kind of both on individuals and businesses. How are those measures going?
So phenomenal. In fact, we're leading the state, if not most of the Western United States, in water conservation. And I think it's just being a good steward of the water. I don't think water conservation, we've talked about that in this county for 100 years. And so we're just kind of looking and saying, okay, how can we be better stewards? And so our new homes being constructed are extremely water efficient. The home builders have been amazing in that process and working with us and talking to us and kind of working out what works for them and what the public wants to buy. And so, our new homes are great. And then, going back and looking at our older homes, we're doing some rebates where we actually pay people to remove their grass. When we first rolled that out, there was so much demand for it, we actually had to go hire additional employees.
Wow.
The nice thing with that too, though, is it's completely voluntary. Like there's no mandate.
Right.
The government is saying you have to do anything. It's simply voluntary, and we've had so much demand. And a lot of times it just comes back to people don't want to waste their Saturday morning mowing grass anymore.
Me included.
That's how I am. And so a lot of it is just people wanted to do it already. And so this is kind of a win-win where we pay them a little money to rip out their grass. It actually frees up a lot of capacity in the system. So it actually saves money in the entire system altogether. I like to say we just don't pay them to rip out their landscaping. They have to put desert landscaping back.
Right.
And so you don't have that heat island effect. They have to plant trees. They have to plant shrubs. And so far, once again, we're leading the state in how much we're doing.
It's awesome.
In fact, it's interesting that people from the other areas of the state are now coming to Washington County and saying, you guys are doing it right down here. You guys are still growing.
The way.
You've got the economic growth going on. You're showing that you have a safe, reliable water supply for 20 years. So it's interesting to have all these people come down and say, what are you doing it and how can we copy it?
That's awesome. And the last question I have, the graphic that people like to talk about where we have this outrageous water usage per resident.
Yeah.
Is that true or false?
That's just flat out false.
Okay.
Those numbers are, in my opinion, heavily manipulated. And so when we get compared to, other locations, like the way they do their calculations is just completely different. Recently, the state legislature came out and said, listen, we need to follow similar methods. And so when you look at the method that the legislature spelled out, last year our level was 130 gallons per day per person. And when you compare that to other communities like Las Vegas, we're not that much higher than, let's say, Las Vegas.
Got it. Cool. Good to know.
Yeah.
Glad. There's a lot of misinformation out there about water. So that's why I always like to have an interview with someone that actually understands water. 'Cause it's even hard for me to talk about. It's complex.
We spend a lot of time making sure that we have safe, reliable drinking water. And there's a lot that goes into it. I mean, we have the Virgin River program where we have to keep all these fish happy.
Yeah.
And if we don't keep those fish happy, we'd lose our water. And we also have a huge amounts of federal regulations that we have to make sure we're complying with all that. And so it does take a lot of staff and time to make sure we comply all that.
For sure.
But I feel very good about the water. We have some of the best quality water within the state of Utah. We test the water all the time to make sure it stays that way. And we're very fortunate to have really, really good, safe, reliable drinking water.
It's awesome. Well, thanks again for your time. Appreciate it. Thanks for all you do to keep this water going on. So
we will keep it going on.
Okay, thanks, Zach.
Hey, thanks a lot.
And that's a wrap, guys. As you can see, so much is happening in regards to water here to ensure that we continue having water as we continue to grow. For more info on what's happening here in Southern Utah, you can call me or text me 435-357-1619 or find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Thanks, guys.